Alright, what's up everyone? Happy 18th of March 2023. Hope everyone's having a great weekend, a great Saturday. Right now we're going to continue some more Grace Attorney Chronicles. Yes, you heard that right, Grace Attorney. We're going to do now, I'm going to work on the Resolve game instead of the Adventure game. So this is going to be the second game. Before I do that, I want to mess around with this. And they're only available in part 2. Why not? I'll temporarily have them wearing that. I'm just looking at the extras real quick. Yeah, this game has a lot of content. Okay, anyways, let me get back to the game. Alrighty. Bespoke Taylor. Oh, that's probably because of the trophies. Anyways, let's watch this cutscene.
Standing here in the bright sunshine, looking out over the vast ocean, those days in London seem like a dream. But I do miss my time in England's vast capital. You know, he's flourished into a truly wonderful lawyer. I've no doubt that at this very moment, he's fighting some noble cause in court. Forgive me for taking so long to come to visit you. My life has been such a whirlwind since I returned. And no one could have predicted what has happened. Just 2 months after arriving home. So I came here today to ask something of you. Tomorrow, I shall be standing in court. For the only time in my life. As a lawyer. So please, I ask for your guidance. Kazuma-sama.
Well, that was quite the intro. Alright. Here I am again after 9 months. The Supreme Court of Judicature of Japan. I feel so nervous. but I must steel my nerves and find a way to compose myself. Ah, good, you're here. It doesn't do for a lawyer to be late. Oh yes, good morning, sir. I hardly recognize you. Excuse me. Excuse me, let me drink real quick. You cut a fine figure, counsel. But you look as white as a sheet, and those white eyes aren't doing you any favors either. Oh dear. The truth is, I'm so incredibly nervous. I feel utterly nauseous. I almost wish that I'd never been born. Ooh, that's kind of harsh. Goodness, not the sort of thing a father hopes to hear from his daughter, I must say. I know, right? Yujin Mikotoba, professor of medicine at the Imperial Yume University. Yes, I remember him. A man who, earlier in his life, traveled to Great Britain to study the latest advance in forensic medical science. And of course, my brilliant father. Excuse me. Would I be correct in thinking that you will be my lawyer in court today? Oh, yes, that's right, miss. Well, I want to thank you for agreeing to represent me. I swear on my life, it's a complete fabrication, the whole thing. Raid Menbami, born the same year as I, and my greatest friend. Though unusual for a woman in our time, she works at the University Research Laboratory, helping my father. And sadly, she's the defendant in today's trial. Oh. Okay. Accused of committing a truly awful murder. Are you feeling alright? Since we started talking, you seem, well, to have become a little flushed. Oh my. Oh, well, it's just that you look so gallant and dashing. Sorry? And when I fall under your intense gaze, it makes me feel rather bashful. Goodness, I don't think she knows. She hasn't realized who I am. It will seem our little plan for this trial is gonna work. Oh? What? What do you mean, Professor Mikotoba? If even your best friend can't see through your disguise, I think we could relax. Disguise? Yes, I never tried dressing this way before, of course, so I wasn't sure how convincing it would be. But this does make me feel a little relieved, as you say, Father. Father? Is that you, Susato? I'm so sorry I didn't say something sooner, Ray. It's just that... No, what are you doing? What's going on? What? That varsity uniform, that varsity cap, the varsity cape, that varsity badge. Look at you! You look for all the world just like a student at the Imperial Yume University. A male student. I'm so glad you think so. It means all my preparations has been worthwhile. I woke at 4 this morning to make a start. But I don't understand. Why are you dressed like that? Well, you see, it was the only way. The only way she will be permitted into Supreme Court to take on your defense on this trial. My defense. Never before in my eyes have I felt so frustrated at being born into this body. Courts in Japan are barred to women. We're not even allowed to set foot aside the courtroom. Despite that fact that the law of the land applied to all people, male and female alike. But women are forbidden. Just for today, I'll be leaving my true self at the courtroom door, so that I could act as your lawyer. Oh, Susato, you go to such length for me. Of course, you're my greatest friend. I just worried that I shan't be the lawyer you deserve. Oh no, I have complete faith in you. Ray. It's so strange though. I mean, you're such an accomplished judicial assistant already. And yet, just because you're a woman. What a wretched reason. I mean, why shouldn't you be allowed in the court? You're so gallant and dashing. Ray, please don't look at me like that, with those flushed cheeks and dotted eyes. Oh, I'm sorry, it's just you really do look so dashing. Yes, you mentioned that once or twice. You should be pleased. It means you look convincing as a man. I am pleased, I think. It certainly helped to bolster my confidence today. Ray, you're managing to put on a brave face in all this, but I can see through it. I notice how your shoulders are slumped and how you're trembling over so slightly. Susato, you do believe me, don't you? I didn't do it. I couldn't have. I mean, murder. Of course. You have nothing to worry about. Your conscience is perfectly clean. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, it is. Perfectly clean. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind about your innocence, which is why I'll stand by you until the bitter end in this trial. Whatever happens, I'll always be on your side, because that's what it means to be a defense lawyer. That means so much to me, Susato. Defendant counsel. Court is about to begin. Proceed to the courtroom at once. You should go in at once, Ray. If you're late, the judge won't hesitate to pronounce you guilty. Oh. Stand aside. I don't think I ever seen her run so fast. Well, Susato, you're certainly surprised your father, going to such lengths to admit into courtroom, and with no prior experience of being a lawyer. There was simply no other way. That's all there is to it. But father, you haven't told her, have you? I mean, I'm right in assuming that Ray doesn't know how it came to this. Yes, quite right. I kept that information from her. It would only worry her if she found out that no other lawyer would agree to take her case. I didn't want to burden her with that. And is it true? The reason why other lawyers is refusing to take the case? Is it really because of who the victim was? We should be making a move now, too. As you know, law isn't my field, but I do what I could do to support my student. Thank you, Father. I'm Susato Mikotoba, a judicial assistant. 8 months ago, I accompanied a student of law, on a study trip to Great Britain. 2 months ago, due to unforeseen circumstances, I found myself back in Japan. How many times have I wished that he was here? I wonder. Still, I have no choice but to steel myself into the trial ahead. That's a nice costume he has, by the way. Wish me luck, Naruhodo-san. Alrighty. Yeah, I see her in her new outfit. This court is now in session to hear the trial of Ray Minbami. The prosecution is fully ready to proceed, Your Excellency. Defense counsel, are you ready? Yes, Your Excellency, we are ready. Ready. Ah, yes, counsel. According to your registration details, your name is, well, I want to make sure, I want to look at something real quick. I'm going to save real quick. I want to look at one thing real quick. Now I'm just curious right now. I want to go back to the title real quick. I already saved. Now I'm just curious how she looks without the costume I have on. Sorry about that. I just... Cause she looks the same right there. So I'm gonna wear her default just to be curious. Alright. Ryotaro Naruhodo, is that correct? Okay, so that's what... Okay, that's cool. Sorry? Ah, yes. I had to come up with a suitable male name for you with this venture. So I'm afraid to say, I simply put down the first name that sprung my mind. Well, Counsel. Yes, that's right. That's me. Yes, I am Ryotaro. He who has vowed and upholds pride of the great Naruhodo clan. Ah. It seems Ryotaro may need to consider how better to uphold his manly act first, and not overdo it. And those wild wide eyes are doing you any favors either. Just relax and listen. Naruhodo. A fresh face in this courtroom, if I'm not mistaken. But the name Naruhodo, would that perchance be... You may be thinking of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Currently in Britain as part of a study program. This is his cousin. That's right, Ryotaro. Here has been studying in the provinces, but was called to the capital for this trial. I assure you, in matters of law, his knowledge rivals that of any Tokyo pre-eminence lawyers. Any of them. What a pitiful situation. Having been rejected by every lawyer in the capital, the accused has all been called in a country boy. How dare you? Susato is a very... Oh my gosh, she just giggled. I can't believe she just said that. Susato is a very bit of gallant and dashing as any of your Tokyo attorneys. I won't have you making fun of her. Why did she say that? Yeah, why did she say that? Oh, please be careful, Ray. What an unrefined tomboy we have here. But I wonder, is your gallant and dashing lawyer up to the challenge of defending you? His wise, skittish eyes are very suggest that he is not. I'm so nervous. Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand what Naruhodo goes through. Like it or not, eyes are not... won't flip. The case to be heard on this day is a matter of great significance of our national interest. I want to capture that. That's funny. In fact, it would be reasonable to assume that the outcome of this trial will affect the very future of our empire. Just like the trial 9 months ago, and yet for proceeding of such importance, we have this unknown Yoko by the dock. Dear me. Perhaps this would be an appropriate moment for me to assist the defense. To determine whether you are sufficiently competent to practice in this courtroom. 9 months ago, when a certain other Naruhodo stood where you were standing now. This same judge tested him as well. And even though he was just a student at the time, not even of law, he passed the test with flying colors. For a trained and experienced judicial assistant like you, this will be easy. So, counsel, do you consent to answering some simple questions? Alright, it's time to prove myself. Yes, Your Excellency. Please do, but please do make them simple. Very well. To start with, you will state the name of the victim. Whew, that's a simple. I couldn't forget that if I tried. I gotta go to my records, I can't see it. What's the matter? Now that I'm standing in his shoes, I'm starting to understand something else Naruto goes through. Like it or not, minds are woke to blank. It's not surprising, really. It's your first time in this position, and in that guise. Even a bright spark like you is bound to flicker and falter a little under the circumstances. Oh dear, this is a dismal failure. Don't fret. You need only use the knowledge you gain as a judicial assistant to overcome the problem. Of course, the court record, exactly. Yes, the answer will be amongst the key information about the case in the court records. That's right. You still, yeah, okay. And don't take too long over it. His Excellency is watching you closely. Alright, check the court records. I don't need to read that. I'm waiting, counsel. What is the name of the victim in this case? Hold on. I think there's a trophy you can miss if you get it right. So I want to get it wrong first, on purpose. The victim in this case is yes. What? Why the sudden triumphant cry of yes? Are you threatening to kill me? He seems angry. And you're surprised? Did you consult the court records? You must look it thoroughly carefully. Oh yes, I did, of course. I looked at everyone on file, and I chose the person whose feature appeared to be most definitely. I must say, this most unusual methodology of yours leaves me most speechless. It occurs to me with renewed certainty that reading this information carefully is vitally important. I strongly recommend it. Oh dear, I simply can't ignore the imploring look. Your Excellency, please allow me to admit my answer. Very well, I will excuse this incorrect response given your wide-eyed state of panic. What is the name of the victim in this case? Alright, so I guess you have to get it wrong on purpose to get that trophy. The victim in this case is none other than Professor Eugen Mikotoba. What? Well, to be written off by one's child. Father, you seem suddenly so much older and warier than you were moments ago. Because of you, clearly. The judge is asking for the victim's name, the person who was killed in this case. Look through the information in the court records again, carefully. Before you kill me, for mercy's sakes. Oh dear, I simply can't ignore that disapproving look. Okay, I got the trophy. For having named, yeah, the wrong people. Alright, let's get it right this time. I'm guessing it's Miss Brett from the last game. Yeah, Giselle Brett.
Yes!
Okay, so the name of the victim who lost her life in this case is Miss Giselle Brett. Giselle Brett. A name that will never be forgotten in this courtroom of our country, I'm sure. Correct. And being a member of our empire's judiciary, you will be aware of the significance of that name. So, let me pose another simple question. As you know, Miss Brett was a visiting student from the Empire of Great Britain. Why then is her name undeniably associated with our own empire judicial history? Obviously, you won't have forgotten that case from 9 months ago. But if it's proven hard to recall the finer points, everything you need is included in the court record. Obviously, I still remember. Might as well look right now. The victim of the case was a former British exchange student. 9 months ago, she was found guilty of the murder of visiting Professor Dr. John Wilson. I remember her. Okay. That was the start of everything. Giselle Brett. Behind that woman's student's persona was the face of a killer. No, it's definitely not dead. It's a killer.
Yes!
9 months ago, a visiting professor of the... I already read this already. And the culprit was Giselle Brett. Yes, she was a killer. At the time, our country had just signed a new treaty with the Empire of Great Britain, and it was in the midst of delicate diplomatic situation that incident occurred. An Englishman, Dr. John Wilson, was shot dead. I believe he was an associate of yours, Professor Mikotoba. Yes, I was in debt to that man. He's been my mentor when I went to London to study forensic medicine. Indeed, it was I who invited him here to Japan as a visiting professor at the university. Naturally, the murder of an Englishman on our soil was a matter that the government wished to resolve rapidly. Indeed it was, which is why a secret trial was conducted here at the Supreme Court. A student of the Imperial Yumei University was arrested on suspicion of murder. A second-year English language student by the name of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. With the help of his best friend, a student lawyer, the accused conducted his own defense and exposed the despicable crime committed by Miss Giselle Brett. Miss Brett eventually admitted to her crime. However, when questioned about the motive that drove her to take Dr. Wilson's life, she gave no satisfactory answer before the trial reached its conclusion. Immediately after the trial, the British government brought its consular jurisdiction into play. We were unable to sentence Miss Brett according to our empire's law. It was decided that she would be removed to Shanghai, China instead. Why Shanghai? There's a British consular court there. Correct. I oversaw the negotiations personally. The date of her transfer to Shanghai was finally settled upon my only last week. And that remained of our empire's obligations was to see the woman safely on board a steamship. And yet, the very day before her departure, the English woman was killed. Only the day before? That will do. I'm satisfied that the counsel for the defense is sufficiently capable of representing the defendant. Oh. Thank you, Your Excellency. Over the first hurdle. Now, a summary of the incident, if you please. Prosecutor Aoichi. As in your wish, Your Excellency. The repugnant crime took place in the 11th August, in the 11th August in broad daylight. Oh, we get a picture scene. Very nice. On the outskirts of the imperial capital, under a bright blue sky, at a secluded bathing spot at the sea. I'm just drinking some water. The incident occurred inside a small beach hut, erected from the bathers of rest of changed their clothes. The cause of death was a single stab wound to the posterior abdomen that pierced the victim's lung, an injury which proved fatal. There were two persons alone together in that beach hut, at the time of the victim's death, Miss Brett in her bathing attire, and the accused, Ray Membami. Membami. Am I saying that right? Membami. It feels like I'm saying it wrong. Accordingly, there could be no doubt of the accused's guilt, especially when we consider she has a powerful motive. The police arrived rapidly at the scene and promptly arrested the young lady. They didn't say what the motive was. Well, that extraordinary description of events leave me somewhat lost of words, I must say. That's certainly true. The prosecution summary was full of words that raise an awful lot of questions. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick the prosecution counsel on what he said about, I guess the motive, right? Yeah, because I don't know what the motive is. I'll go with that. You're clearly exaggerating. Powerful motive is a blanket overstatement. It's the Yoko boy using long words he doesn't fully understand. I beg your pardon. No matter. Let us put this to the accused, shall we? Membami-san, you are a research assistant at the Imperial Yuma University, I believe. Yes, I am. I'm working with Professor Mikotoba in his laboratory at the moment. I could confirm that the defendant is an excellent assistant with a strong sense of responsibility. Fascinating to hear. Now, another question. Prior to your work with Professor Mikotoba, whose research were you assisting in? Oh, well, I was studying under Dr. John H. Oh, I see. Dr. Wilson? The visiting English professor who was murdered by Miss Brett 9 months ago. The accused had a deep-seated respect for her former mentor, Dr. Wilson. Is that not true? Yes, Dr. Wilson was a wonderful man. Interesting. Then tell the court what deep-seated feelings you had towards the English woman who killed him. Well, obviously I was filled with hatred for what she'd done. A powerful hatred. Oh no, Ray, be careful of what you're saying. Well, at least she's being honest, even though it is used against her. The motive was revenge. Plain and simple, Your Excellency. Sorry, I'm just stretching. Well, it was clearly a trap all along. Yeah, it definitely was. How wicked of him to use Ray's undying respect for her former mentor against her like that. I must find out more details and something we can use to bolster our defense. As a lawyer, I really ought to pick up the prosecution counsel on what he said about... Let's see. So we already said the powerful motive. I'm thinking. Maybe the bathing spot? Or maybe being alone together? I don't know. If I may, Prosecutor Aochi. What do you want, you fresh-faced young Yoko student? I wonder, could you explain, please? You mentioned a bathing spot. My apologies. Clearly my modernity has confused the poor country bumpkin's simple mind. Bathing spots are the very latest trends in health practices from the West. We are told that bathing in the water of the ocean is curative, derogatively, and excellent for the skin. No, that's not what I meant. I was referring to the fact that Miss Brett had, to all intent and purposes, been found guilty of murder. Why would a known criminal have been relaxing by the sea? For old time's sake, I believe. Sorry? Miss Brett was to depart for Shanghai that following day. Her final wish, as it were, was to enjoy a day at our country's wonderful coast. and the British Embassy put extreme pressures on our governments to comply. But what on grounds should we agree to such a request? Because, as usual, our government is unable to stand up to foreign powers. In matters of diplomacy, it seems we don't even have that courage to decline the whims of a known criminal. Don't look at me, Professor. It was the government who granted permissions, not I. In any case, it was decided with a dedicated detective on duty. Nothing could go wrong. But in fact, a murder took place. I said don't look at me. It was the young student girl who did it, not I. No one has proved that yet. I wouldn't provoke the man if you need to. At this stage, I need to gather more information I could think of. I guess, as a lawyer, I really ought to pick up... Yeah, okay. So, we already picked the first one, the motive and the bathing, so being alone together. Menbami-san. Yes, what is it? Naruhodo-san. I'm really starting to wish we made my alias Ryotaro Sasato. Please tell the court why exactly you were present at the bathing spot with the victim in the first place. And why you were alone with her. Oh, well, no, that's not true. It wasn't like that at all. There were other people present, a detective who was guarding Miss Brett for starters. I was just asked to accompany Miss Brett as a companion, that's all. Let's be clear. At the moment of her death, you were alone together with the victim in the hut. You and no one else. But the truth is, there is only one reason why this young woman accompanied Miss Brett on her bathing sojourn. It was the accused's last chance to take the victim's life. No! Because, as we know, the following day would see Miss Brett extradited to the British authorities in Shanghai. And the accused would never have the opportunity to dispatch her again. Kindly refrain from conjecture, counsel. I believe we all have a clear picture of the incident now. Despite her guilt being determined 9 months ago, Ms. Brett managed to avoid incarceration instead of continuing her research at the university. Obviously, over that period, she and Ray would have encountered each other on a number of occasions. Seeing the murderers of the mentor, for whom she has such great respect, enjoying such undeserved liberty. Yes, even if it was only temporarily until Miss Brett's extradition to Shanghai. You could hardly blame Ray for her feelings of anger and resentment. Poor Ray. So, Your Excellency, if you'll be so kind as to peruse this exhibit, a print that shows the scene of the crime immediately following the grim incident. Yes, thank you, Counsel. A tragic image. As you can see clearly, there is nowhere within the hut that anyone could have hidden. The court will accept this picture. Okay. We got a crime scene photo. As I understand it then, the victim and the defendant were alone inside the beach hut at the time. This is deeply troubling, I must say. The finger of guilt points firmly at the defendant. Well, Your Excellency, naturally the prosecution has been more to it in case. We intend to prove that the accused of appalling actions beyond all possible contentions. To the end, I can confirm that we have multiple witnesses to the crime and damning evidence. Witnesses? But who? One of whom, I might add, is a highly respected police detective. I assure you, the testimony of these witnesses will leave room for doubt. Very well then, counsel. Bring forth your witnesses. I have been waiting for this moment. Sorry? Oh yes, I haven't forgotten. The trial 9 months ago, here in this very courtroom. With that irreverent little student boy, utterly humiliating me. Yeah. What, yes. This insult to the Aochi family name will never be forgotten. You become conceited with age, Council. But the old has to stand aside and make way for... I remember this. This was a cool this was a cool cutscene. Struck the head of a samurai whose top knot has been cut, and the bell of a Kotroi like Mentos. Yes, on that fateful day, my former self died. The start of your own mini Meiji revolution. Are you modernizing as well, Council? Silence! Since I swore revenge back then, there has been a minor miracle atop my head. Observe the Aochi growth. You see? You see the seed of hope sprouting forth from the barren expanse of my crown. I think that tiny growth is trying to tell me something. I'm afraid I can't really see where is the hope exactly. I said silence. Today, I face another Yonko student of the Naruhodo clan. Well, I will vanquish you. And my victory will be fertilizer of the seed of hope atop of my head. You have been warned. With that, the prosecution calls the witnesses to the stand. It looks like the stakes are high on both sides of the trial. The prosecution and defense each have much to lose. A haircut is hardly comparable to Ray's life. I agree. This guy again? Oh my gosh. Witnesses, please state your names and occupations for the court. Chief Inspector Satura Hasunaga, Imperial Police Bureau. I am in disguise, obviously, so I could go undetected. And I am, well, the next big thing in books, an author renowned throughout the capital. In fact, yes. Soon to be sold out. I am a cat, a sensational success by Soseki Natsume. You know what? That's a pretty cool animation. I like that. That was cool. Oh my goodness. Struggling student from the provinces. Please, you needed me and all me. I need it. It's only natural that you feel nervous in my presence, but all of you, please relax. Call me Sosoki even. Yes. What on earth is Soseki-san doing here? Tread carefully, Susato. That author fellow knows you from your time in London, doesn't he? If he exposes you for who you really are, this will be over before it begun. Yes, of course, I know. I presume Soseki-san won't have forgotten about me. I could certainly never forget him. Although he doesn't seem to have changed somewhat in his 6 months or so that's been since I last saw him. And as far as Hasunaga, that amazing outfit is hard to believe. Do I have something on my face? Well, your glasses for one, although they don't seem to be helping you see. Thank goodness he hasn't recognized me either. Ah, I suppose it's this disguise, is it? I thought that appearing here in the clothes I was wearing at the time would make more faithful testimony. It is my guiding principle to carry out these testimonies flawlessly. Well, I could appreciate why an Imperial Police Bureau detective might have been present. But what business does a writer such as yourself have being at the scene? Ah, well, you see, I had been asked that day to give a lecture. On the morning of the incident. In the Imperial Yume University, no less. At the Yume University? After the lecture, I have a very pleasant conversation with a researcher from the medical science department. The professor over there, in fact. With my fate with Professor Mikotoba. Yes, that's right. It was arranged by one of the newspapers. They wanted some story or other about two former students who study in Great Britain. Of course, being a renowned author, the press never leave me alone. They secretly spy, snapshot, scribble stories, and scupper my privacies. As you can see, the conversation has written up in this newspaper here. Read it at your leisure, my provincial, struggling student friend. I have plenty of copies. Thank you very much. He's practically threw that paper at me. This is okay. We have more stuff. Okay. Anyways, following my interview with the professor, the lady in question appears and made a very unexpected announcement. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. Those were her words. As I explained before, Miss Brett was never taken into custody. She continued to work in my laboratory until strict surveillance, of course. The university immediately contacted the government to seek guidance, and the response was, permit Miss Brett to go as long as a detective accompanies her. The detective I am at liberty to divulge was me, Chief Inspector Satura Hasunaga. Thereby, the entire party departed cordially for the seaside, it seems. It was extremely challenging to clear all other members of the public from the vicinity of the beach. But fortunately, I am at peak physical fitness at the moment, so I was able to carry out my duty flawlessly. Oh my, Inspector, you. Well, you do have something on your face now. Ah, how unsightly. I do apologize. Does that mean that you went to the beach too, Father? No, fortunately, I had work to finish off. But unfortunately, of course. It means that my assistant Ray was invited to take my place. Of course, being a renowned author, I didn't like to decline the invitation. Ah, but if I only had, I never have seen that awful sight. Relentless, racked by remorse and regret. Very well, I must now ask you to present your formal testimony to the court. You will give an account of all your witness on your excursion to the coast. Of course, Your Honor. I'm going to call him Your Honor. He looks disappointed, relentlessly racked by remorse and regret. I am. Why? Oh, whatever. That was weird. Okay, the witness is seen. On the day of the incident, I was ordered on a special surveillance assignment in this disguise. I just managed to catch that crab when I suddenly heard a caterwaul from behind me. I ran into the beach hut at once, where I found the pair in question. Yes, that young girl was astride the Englishwoman, dagger in hand, as she stabbed wildly. Look at his face. I saw blood on the blade. It proved to me that she stabbed the victim multiple times. Indeed, it does appear that this testimony that both witnesses here present saw it. The very moment of this heinous crime. What? Now, if you will recall, I promised evidence as well. What phrase did I use again? Ah, yes, this was it. Damning evidence. What have you there, counsel? A so-called fountain pen, is it? Correct, Your Excellency. I found it at the scene while examining the body. It appears that her dying moments with her final ounce of strength. The victim clutched a piece of evidence that could possibly identify her killer. What? Your Excellency, if you will cast your eyes over the photographic print of the crime scene once more. Ah, goodness me. Yes, the victim is clearly grasping something quite deliberately there in her hand. That's right, the fountain pen. And if you will kindly examine the pen, Your Excellency. Ah! The owner's initials has been engraved into the ebonite barrel. R.M. Ray Manbami. The initials of the defendant. No. The fountain pen will be omitted immediately as critical evidence. Okay. So, have I omitted anything? The decisive testimony and damning evidence? There's a bright blue sky outside the courthouse today. Perfect weather to ascribe guilt, I feel. I don't understand. The prosecution out here of 9 months ago had none of this man's poise. Counsel for the defense, you may begin your cross-examination now. Naruhodo-san. Naruhodo. That means... Oh, yes, me. Is there another Naruhodo in my courtroom? Actually, there isn't even a single Naruhodo in your courtroom. Cousin Ryotaro, pull yourself together, please. Alright, I've seen this countless times as a judicial assistant. Find inconsistencies with the witness's testimony to prove that they're lying somehow. That's all there is to it. That's how a real lawyer would handle a cross-examination. So let's see what I could do. Alright, do our cross-examinations. Single deep... Oh, okay. There it is right there. Objection. With that accusatory cry just welled up from the deep inside me, I think I finally understand. Every time Kasumo-sama and Naruhodo-san have stood here at this bench, the stakes has been very, very high indeed. What's the meaning of this menacing pose, counsel? I'd like the witness to clarify something for me. Who? What? Where? When? How? Not you, Sasaki-san. The query is directed at Inspector Hosonaga. At me? In your statement just now, you said that the victim was stabbed multiple times. Yes, that's right. As I said when I entered the hut. The defendant was already standing over the victim, bloody knife in hand, like a murderous demon. And yet, that cannot be. What? Get to the point, counsel. Please. In the autopsy, it clearly states that the victim was stabbed one time only. Ah. In other words, Inspector Hosanaga's testimony is clearly flawed. Ah! And Sasaki-san. Me? You claim to have seen Minbami in the throes of the stabbing this victim. Yes! Yes, I did. Widely. But both of you and the inspector confirmed the same point. That there was already blood on the knife that you saw in the defendant holding. Yes. And? It's quite simple. We know the murder weapon was used to stab the victim once. Therefore, there is no way there could have been blood on the knife if that single stabbing had already occurred. True. Then what exactly is your contention, Counsel? Are you gonna tell us? Yes, Your Excellency. There's only one logical conclusion. What Sasuke-san in fact saw was the moment of the defendant stabbed the victim at all. But the moment that the defendant in fact withdrew the blade from the victim's body. That can't be! So dramatic. Excellent work, Susato. You exploded at them with that objection, and then proceeded to pull them apart systematically.
Objection!
Well, this takes me back. Yes, I seem to remember your cousin staged a scene much like this in that trial 9 months ago. A half-witted child with a half-baked objection attempting to steal the show. You're right, there were certain similarities. Except that so-called half-witted child managed to outwit the prosecution, who was only a half a head of hair. Slandered! My head is quite addressed. In any case, all the talk of stabbing and withdrawing in multiple wounds, it makes not a jot of difference. What? Why not? Engage your brain, young man. When the accused first plunged the deadly weapon into the victim, that was the fatal blow. And it was that moment, just as she withdrawn the blade ready for her next strike, that the witness saw. The knife was already tainted with blood because of the accused that has already stabbed the victim. All you have successfully shown with your little display is that the mustached author is prone to moments of extravagance. I am in agreement with the prosecution. If the defendant was seen wielding the blade at all, that is sufficient grounds for her actions to be viewed with suspicion. But if she was withdrawing the blade, then we are back to where we started. Sorry? Consider this, young Yoko boy. If the student girl is innocent as you claim, then why would she have pulled the blade from the victim? And with a demon cold-blooded composure too. The prosecution demands an explanation, and it has better be good. Why did Ray pull the knife? Yes, going for the jugular. What does father mean by that? Let the court hear your answer then, counsel. The truth is, I really don't know. But I have to come up with a plausible reason here, or we don't have a case. The reason why the defendant pulled the knife blade out of the victim's body was so she could stab her again. According to the autopsy, the victim's death was not instant. That's correct. It's thought she would have remained conscious for a short while sustaining the injury. Indeed, giving her the time to take hold of this piece of evidence that clearly indicates her killer. The point is, being a medical research assistant, Menbami was compelled to act when faced with the wounded victim. She pulled the blade out to attempt to save Miss Brett's life. Did you hear that, Your Honor? It would seem this is the best we could expect of this young Yoko. Indeed. Is it just me or does it seem much colder in here? Your Excellency, if I may, speak witness. I would like another opportunity to testify, in respect to the slipshod assertion just put forward to the Yonko Defense Counsel, Slipshod? And that's an idea, Spectre. Our young Yoko Hopeful has a modicum of knowledge when it comes to the law, it seems. But in matters of medicine, he appears to possess not the iota of common sense. Very well, Inspector. I will permit your requests. You will testify again before the court on the subject of the defense counsel. Yes, sir. I will do so flawlessly. Pulling a blade from a wound without thinking could cause heavy bleeding. That's basic knowledge that any medical research assistant with an ounce of sense ought to know. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull the knife from the victim. Let's not forget that the young student did have a motive for killing the victim. The man the victim murdered 9 months ago, Dr. Wilson, was the defendant's highly respected mentor. Okay. What you said is true, Inspector. Could pulling a knife from a wound really cause the wound to bleed heavily? Yes. Think of the weapon itself as a stopper in the wound that prevents excessive blood loss. Until a doctor is ready to provide proper treatment, that stopper shouldn't be removed. Oh, I see. This is why Yonkos should stay at the farm. Even a quack from some obscure mountain village would have some basic knowledge. Anyone who's ever given someone a little poke with a knife and pull it out again knows it. Oh, well, I never stabbed anyone, you see, or pulled the blade out on the wound. Of course you haven't. I didn't bring you up to behave like a bandit. Father, is it true what they're telling me? Yes, it's basic remedial knowledge for medics. Ray would have been well aware of it. If she were to claim ignorance of such fundamentals, that would prove fatal in many ways. But then, why would Ray have done it? Could she have pulled that knife in full knowledge that it would be fatal for Miss Brett? I don't know. Ray never once mentioned anything about the knife to me. It seems almost impossible to believe, but could my friend actually have? Susato. Yes? Pull yourself together. We mustn't lose a sight of why we're here. Counsel, it's time for your cross-examination. Oh yes, Your Excellency. However, I must warn you that if your cross-examination fails to identify any issue with established facts, I will be moving on my adjudications immediately afterwards. I understand. Believing in your clients and fighting for their cause until the bitter end. I knew it would be so hard, but I had no idea it would be this hard. Hey, look at the cat. Okay. Pulling the blade from... We read this. I'm just gonna press. You say doing it without thinking would be a problem. Does that mean that if you use due care and attention would be alright? I wouldn't have thought that needed spelling out, really, but the blade is like a stopper in the wound. Remove it and a serious hemorrhage will occur. In other words, a medic would need to present before any attempt was made to withdraw the blade. Doing it without thinking would be madness. You just can't do it. Oh, well, thank you for such thorough thorough explanation. You see, counsel, when you act without thinking, the result is bloodbath. Back to the witness testimony, please.
Hold it!
In that case, there's an obvious explanation here, which is clearly the defendant Ray Membami does not possess an ounce of sense. What do you think about that, Professor? I'm not sure that you should be labeling your best friend as lacking common sense. Well, I thought it would be better than labeling her as a murderer. I don't know young people today. If that's friendship, I don't understand it. Careful, counsel. A lack of common sense could be very dangerous. Oh dear. That recoiled from me bad. That's life, I'm afraid. A lesson everyone must learn. Hopefully you could see that this is really basic medical knowledge. Being involved in medical research, Membami-san would have certainly have been aware of this.
Hold it!
But the defendant had certainly encountered somebody she knew lying on the ground, bleeding to death. The sight could have been shock to her delicate sensibilities, causing her to remove the blade inadvertently. I really don't think inadvertently actions can explain this. This woman is a medical research assistant. I can't imagine she would have behaved so irrationally. Oh, but irrational behavior is a woman's prerogative, isn't it? Oh dear. You have a lot to learn about women. Why would he say that? Hold on, I see my chat's acting up. I'm gonna put K. Hey Luna. Only a small-minded man could have such bigoted reviews. Oh dear. Perhaps I'm letting my male persona take a hold a little bit too much. Well, have I managed to convey the basics now? That should cover the medical side of the argument. Let me shout you out, Luna. This is the only Ace Attorney I didn't play yet. It's really good. It's really good. It's not only taking place in the court. There's some parts where you're like outside of the court where you're doing investigations, and like the whole episode takes place outside of the court as well. Right now we're back in the court for this episode. But yeah, it's really good. Whatever the motive, it just isn't Membami-san's nature to do something so awful. But she had both motives and opportunity. That's very hard to argue against. But you don't know the defendant. Oh. And you, counsel, do not appear to know the law. Yes, evidence is the only way to convince the court of your argument, not feelings. With this, pledging to defend her, I will almost say I pity the accused. Yeah, no problem, Luna. Hope you're having a great weekend. So do I. Inspector, you will reiterate your point about defendant's motives, please. Ah yes, Miss Brett was in many ways the sworn enemy of Membami-san. Let's press on this. Well, yes, that's true. Dr. Wilson recognized Membami's talent and offered her the position of assistant despite her being a woman. She was extremely grateful to him. Yes, the Englishman appears to have been very broad-minded individual. Dr. Wilson had no time for outdated traditions. He met with oppositions, of course, but he believed firmly in Membami-san's ability. But clearly the defendant was in the man's debt, which only serves to prove my point. Alright, so we pressed on everything. This is hopeless. I can't find a single crack in this testimony anywhere. If Ray knew that withdrawing that knife from the wound would threaten Miss Brett's life further, I just can't think of any way to explain why she did it. Susato, It is at times like these when it's especially important to remember the fundamentals. The fundamentals? Evidence is what counts in this courtroom, remember it. Of course, but I've been through the court records dozens of times. I think perhaps you're forgetting something, though. You needn't not take the evidence at face value. You could just examine it in greater details. Ah. I realize this is your first time playing the role of a lawyer in the courtroom. So if you need reminding of the rudiments, you need only ask. I'll do my best to help. Examine the evidence in the courtroom. The court records. It's an idea, certainly. Yeah, let's go. I know what to do. Come to think of it, Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo were always turning evidence over and over in their hands. Yes, I need to examine things in greater details with an X. Okay. Ah, by the looks in your eyes, I see it's coming back to you. Go through the court records again and have a thorough look at everything. You must find a clue. Yes, I'll do straight away. Okay, let's see what we have. Let's look at my... What's this? There's some sort of emblem here. Look. But it isn't a Yume University one. It must belong to some other organization, I suppose. A business of some kind. But that would seem to imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray. Okay, it's been updated. The RM initials are very clear engraving here. And the fact that Miss Brett was clinging to this pen in her dying moments is a very clearly message too. To identify her killer, you mean? I don't think there could be any doubt this is a key piece of evidence in this case. Sorry, I think that's pretty much it. Let's see, what else do we have around here? What are we looking at? English returnees tell all. This is the interview with you and Sosuke-san, is it, father? Is he dabbing? It looks as though it was quite an exchange. Yes, he became a little over-animated when he was talking about his time in England. The photographer managed to capture the moment his hot hand karate chopped me on the neck. I do hope you weren't hurt. What else is here? I don't know what else could be back here. I'm just gonna inspect. This is the newspaper from Sosuke-san. There seems to be an important article on the back page as well. Exclusive. Deadly poison stolen from... Ooh! Okay, I'm glad I checked back here. From Yume's medical research. Father, isn't that your lab? What the? Let me see that. The poison's been stolen. Is this morning's paper from Sosuke-san gave us? Are you saying you didn't know? As embarrassing as that is for the head of the laboratory, I didn't. I have not heard of such thing. Where on earth could that reporter have gleaned this information? Come to think of it, there was no article mentioning the story of our paper this morning, was there? It's a highly toxic poison we've been working on the strictest confidence. I put Ray in charge of that project. Ray? She was managing it? If what's written here is true, it means that she tried to hide the death from me. And moreover, the details were leaked somehow. I don't believe it. We need to read this article very carefully. Okay, so article about poison that was stolen from a laboratory at the university. Even my father, who is responsible for the lab, knew nothing about the incident. Okay. Alright. Now that we have some evidence, How can we use this? I'm thinking. Alright, let's just read the testimony. That's not gonna help. That's basic knowledge, okay. In other words, there's no good reason why the defendant would have tried to pull that knife from the victim. Let me see. Let's use that. No, there is one possibility. One very good reason why the defendant might have decided to withdraw the knife from the victim's wound. What? Huh? The Yoko not only has a poor grasp of the law, but is a poor loser. Tell us then, what possibilities do you think you identify? It's here, in this newspaper article. An article about deadly poison having been stolen from a laboratory at the Yume University. Oh, it doesn't even let me finish it. The victim perished from a stab wound. Poison has no relevance in this case. But, Prosecutor Achi, you will let the defense speak. But a newspaper article, this court cannot rely on the kind of hearsay those wretched publications carry. Counsel for the defense. I am going to need some tangible basis on your claim. You will indicate for the court precisely what part of the newspaper article mentions affirms your assertions. Your Excellency? Yes, of course. Thank you. Ray would never have done something to further endanger Miss Brett's life without just cause. The reason why the defendant pulled a knife from the victim's body is explained in the article where it says... deadly, yeah, let's go with that. The article reveals the following properties about the poison in question. When the toxin enters the body, a knife laced with the poison is rapidly absorbed and causes death in minutes. Oh, this is from the first game. The first case, that first episode in the first game. Are you suggesting if the knife used to attack Miss Brett was laced with this very poison, it would... you could say this is kind of poetic justice. Yeah. Anyways, it would explain why the defendant Mimbami would have withdrawn the blade as soon as possible. Yes, the truth is, it was an attempt to stop the poison from entering the victim's body. What? It's funny though, now that I think about it, in the first case, oh, it's come back together. This is complete and utter nonsense. Not at all. The defendant withdrew the knife blade from the victim's body not to incinerate the woman's demise, but to save her life, and the prosecution cannot deny the possibility. Have you not read the autopsy? The cause of death was hemorrhage. The word poison appears nowhere in the document. Well, that's because by acting quickly to remove the blade, the defendant prevented the poison from taking.
Objection!
Oh please, this is clearly desperation. The weasel's last breaking of wind. Poison has nothing whatsoever to do with this case, as I believe the defense is well aware. We have no proof that this information is this wretched newspaper's article is reliable anyways. In that situation, what the student should have done is wait for medical assistance to arrive. But instead, you claim she suspected poison and took the potential lethal decision to remove the blade. She must have had a strong reason for her suspicions then, or the arguments makes no sense. Exactly. Well put, Inspector. On what grounds did she do it then? You okay? Why did Ray suspect stolen poison was involved? If you want grounds, I'll give you grounds. What? You can't possibly. From your expression, counsel, it will appear those are not empty words. But naturally, as you stand in this courtroom as a lawyer, you must be aware that words alone, empty or not, are no value in our modern justice system. The court demands evidence. Yes, Your Excellency. I'm well aware of that. I've seen it many times from my place by his side in the Old Bailey. In that case, counsel, you will present the proof of the court now. What evidence demonstrate a clear link between this case and the poison in the newspaper article? Hold on. Notes. Extreme moises, pupil constriction was observed in the victim's both eyes. Single deep stab wound from behind piercing a lung and resulting in fatal hemorrhage. Death would have occurred within minutes.
Take that!
It might have something to do with the eyes. I don't know. I will ask the court to refer to the notes section of the autopsy, which reads: extreme moises, pupil constriction was observed in the victim. Clearly, being a yokel with no knowledge of forensic science, I have no idea, so please do tell me. Presumably, the fact that this condition of a victim was noted in the post-mortem report means that an unusual symptom of death. Well, under normal circumstances, the pupils dilate when someone dies. If there was extreme constrictions instead, that's very unusual, yes. What are you doing, you detective? In the newspaper article, there's the following information about the stolen poison. Onset to symptoms occur in minutes, ending with acute contractions into the pupils prior to death. What? If the defendant, upon seeing the victim stabbed in the back, happened to notice that the pupil of Miss Brett's eyes has constricted severely, yes, as a medical research assistant, she would have suspected poison immediately, without doubt. Prosecutor Aochi, I think you agree. This is a very compelling evidence. You Yonko student and Yonko professor. I believe the defense has demonstrated a credible reason for the defense action. No. Yujin Mikotoba. Yes, Your Excellency. I believe you are the best place here to confirm or deny the veracity of the defense counsel arguments. You will tell the court the truth about the detailed report in this newspaper, please. Oh boy. It pains me to have to admit it, but I'm afraid I don't know. You don't know? The toxin was kept under lock and key into the laboratory, certainly, but I was unaware of any theft. Do you mean to tell the court that the reports of this theft was unfounded? No, Your Excellency. Without returning of the laboratory to investigate myself, I couldn't say. Ha! Listen to that bumbling academic. Unaware of the theft or secret state research from his own workplace until he reads it in the newspaper. I take full responsibility for the incompetence of my supervision. Father. A pitiful situation for a university's professor. You should be more control. You should have more control over your students rather than allowing them to go off killing sprees. That's totally unfounded. What's up with his facial expression? None of this is Professor Mikotoba's fault. It's all my fault. Ray. Menbami-san, you stand accused here. Outbursts like this will not be tolerated. But it was me. I was the one who noticed that the poison was developing has been stolen that day. What? So you knew? I'd been placed in charge of overseeing the project. It was the day of that the professor and Sosoki were interviewing together for the newspaper. That's when I noticed that some of the poison was missing. Just a tiny amount it was. Why didn't you let anyone know? I was scared. The whole project was supposed to be confidential, but some of the toxin had someone sorry, I can't even read it right. But some of the toxin had somehow been taken. So I decided I'd try to get it back before anyone else found out, because I had a very good idea who the thief was. The thief? You don't mean? Yes, of course. It was the dainty Englishwoman, Miss Giselle Brett. That's why I decided to join the little group of people going to the seaside. Inside the beach hut, I confronted Miss Brett, but she just sat on the stool on the back of the hut, smiling sweetly at me as she knew she was untouchable. That sounds like her. I know it was you who stole the poison. Well now, whatever do you mean? And then, she suddenly got to her feet, before falling to her knees in front of me and then collapsing on the floor. That's when I saw the knife in her back. I couldn't understand what just happened. And then, a moment later, I was seized with fear. The pupils of her eyes they shrunk into tiny pinpoints. I don't believe it. In other words, you realized that the victim was suffering the effects of the stolen poison. My mind started racing. I hadn't seen anything past Miss Brett's lips while I was with her, which left only one possibility, that the poison entered her body, on the blade of the knife in her back. And that train of thought was what spurred you to withdraw the blade. Yes, if the amount that entered her bloodstream was small enough, she might have still had a chance. But that's what I hoped for. Really, I'm so sorry for staying silent all this time. The silence. Your attempt to hide the truth of what happened is not something that could be overlooked. However, I have duly noted the courage which you confess in the end. Thank you, Your Excellency. It's barely perceptible, but I do think the balance has shifted a little here in the courtroom now. Of course. Your Excellency, do not be deceived. The victim just collapsed before your eyes, you say. Well, Membami-san, if that is the case, perhaps you could explain how Miss Brett came to be stabbed. Well, you have no answer because the simple truth is that you stabbed the victim motivated by revenge.
Objection!
But you have no conclusive evidence to prove that assertion, do you? Oh, I have evidence, and it is very conclusive. What's the prosecution counsel up to? It was brief, but he hesitated for a moment there. I'm almost sure of it. You will produce the aforementioned evidence at once. Perhaps some praise is due, young Yoko, student. What? I had imagined there would be no need for me to submit this evidence. But you brought this on yourself. Oh, well, no. Remember, she could be withdrawing it. It doesn't mean she stabbed her. What the? Could a more damning shot exist? The cruelty in the air of that beach is almost palpable. This evidence, more than any other, reveals the true extent of the accused's murderous nature, for it shows the precise moment that Membami-san plunged her dagger into the victim's back. No, that's not true, no. I don't believe it. Counsel for the defense, was it you who were responsible for the shrill scream that you pierced my courtroom? Perhaps his voice has yet to break. These yonkos are slow of mind and slow to mature. Well, they don't know that quote-unquote Ria Toro is a girl. I'll show you who's slow to mature. Careful now. Susato is starting to show her face here. Yeah, you gotta be careful. They have to, the whole point is to make them think you're a guy. It is often said that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and here we have ample proof. The court will accept this extreme cogent photo as evidence. Okay, so we have updated evidence now. I can't believe he has a photo like this in this entire time. It's such a stark image. I generally lost for words. Wait a minute, I don't understand. How did you? I mean, who took that? Well, I know how. It makes sense, because the guy right here, he always has like photographers, so that's probably how. That's what I'm guessing. Ray.
Objection!
That's of no importance here. Stop trying to divert attention. Oh.
Objection!
That's an absurd thing to say. It's crucial important, excuse me. Whoever took this photo was a witness to Miss Brett's death. It has to be the photographer. The court must be allowed to hear this person's testimony. I will hold the defense demand. The prosecution will reveal the identity of the person responsible for taking this photo at once. Yeah, it has to be the guy's photographer. Well, I'm afraid I can't do that. Pardon? You see, this print arrived at the Imperial Police Bureau headquarters by... or maybe it's not. But there was nothing to indicate the sender's name or address. The provenance of the print is unknown. Goodness! Are we to understand then, counsel, that in full knowledge of the fact that this photo was the Mercury's origins, you nevertheless believe it for submission to evidence in the Supreme Court? When you first produced the print before, I noticed that you hesitated for... Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Because it was kind of sketchy. Because you knew that it wasn't completely reliable, didn't you? I typed slowly because I cut my finger with paper. Oh, paper cut. I'm sorry to hear that, Luna. I'm gonna type in oof. Okay, enjoy your lurk. Silence, you Oko students and blabbering professor. What matter is that the blatant truth that this print so expresses. I agree, it is still evidence though. But the defendant has already admitted to pulling the blade from the wound. Clearly this isn't the moment that the knife was plunged into the victim's back, but the moment it was withdrawn. Don't waste this court's time with your ramblings. Indeed, without knowledge of who produced this print, we have no means of verifying the claims. And the scene it captures is without doubt the most compelling evidence presented to the court. If the defense is unable to shed any further light on the matter, I believe the conclusion is clear. Oh no. Susato, this is the time for you to fight. If what you've established so far is true, then there can be no doubt. This photograph shows the moment that Ray withdrew the blade from the victim. Yes, we just need to prove that somehow. You have plenty of time to rue your defeat on the slow train back to the provinces. And to rue the day you came up against Takachi Aichi in a court of law. If I can't determine who took this photo, then the trial is gonna come to an end. There must be a clue somewhere. There must be some way of working out who took it. Well, counsel, I'm stretching right now. Whew. Your Excellency, the burning question is who took the photograph, and the truth is, well, I don't think we know. Because I just thought about something. The author's photographer was with the professor and the author. So it couldn't be him then. No. If I give up now, I'll never be able to look Ray in the eye. Susato, you need to steel yourself and summon your best argument. I'll do my best. This isn't about whether I can or cannot come up with the answer now. I simply have to. The identity of the person who took this dramatic photo is, I assure you, something the defense will reveal. What? No! You can't possibly. But, as you so boldly claim you can, please do enlighten us. Unfortunately, I'm unable to present a name. How utterly underwhelming. Did you really believe you could? However, I am able to present evidence. The defense has a piece of evidence that reveals important details about the photographer's identity. What? Very well then, counsel. Present your proof to the court. What piece of evidence do we have? Yeah, we'll stick it about this. It's probably this.
Take that!
What? The newspaper again. It's not the headline that was relevant here, Your Excellency. It's the photo. If you look at it closely, you'll notice that there are some white lines on the right-hand side. Ah, yes. Ah, yes, indeed. They already caught my eye, as it happens. What of it? A shadow of some kind of... I want to look at something real quick. Oh, it's there too! Okay, so it was his photographer. It was his photographer. Okay. I see. A shadow of some kind, presumably, but the branches of a tree or the like. There are no trees growing inside my laboratory at the university, I could assure you. Now, if you look closely at this photo, good gracious. Yes, exactly the same pattern of lines is presented on this photo too.
Objection!
Well, that tells not. Actually, no, it does say something. We know who it is. It's a shadow of some kind, definitely, but the branches of a tree. There wouldn't be any trees growing inside a hut at the beach, council. What's remarkable about it is that the two patterns are absolutely identical. How could such a similarity transpire? The curious matching patterns that appear on both photos is a result of... It's not tree branches. I don't think it's a technique. That would be giving them too much of a compliment. So it has to be a defect. It's maybe the lens is cracked or something like that. I don't know. Obviously, it must be due to a problem with the camera used to take photos. With the photo? With the camera. Yes, we could confidently say that the camera lens must be scratched. That's what I was assuming. And with that scratched lens causes unwanted lines to appear on every print taken with the device. In short, the two photographs under consideration here were taken with the same camera. But there must be hundreds of such camera devices here in the capital. It would be impossible to identify the owner of the particular one. No, we can have an idea who it was. I think you're forgetting, prosecutor, that one of the photographs feature a newspaper article. A newspaper. That's right. The author of that article is a mystery witness to that. Yeah. That's what I was thinking. This guy. I see why you were called a reckless England returnee. What are you talking about? You already testified. It's Minameno, I tell you, Minameno. I guess that's the photographer. Mo. By the way, that pose is hilarious. I love it. Let's go. Sasaki-san? What was that? Did you say Minameno? Ever since I returned to Japan, a reporter from Shayo News has been hounding me, following my every move. A reporter by the name of Reiten Minameno. Yes, hounding me from the dawn till dusk. Now he mentions it. Yeah, that's the guy. That's the guy. That's the guy. That's the guy. That's who I was thinking of. Could that same reporter be? A camera to the left of him, a notebook to the right. There I am, stuck in the middle with Reiten Minameno. So you're saying that this picture was taken by Minameno? Yes, my lord, your excellency, Esquire. Officer, find this newspaper reporter at once and bring him to my courtroom. We will endure for a short recess in the meantime. Oh, yes, your excellency. As you say, your excellency. And one more thing. I want this knife, the murder weapon, examined for traces of poison. You will solicit the assistance at the Imperial University Medical Department for the task, understood? Meh. Now the question is, am I ready for the second part? I don't know. Let's save for now. I'm tempted, but I think I'm gonna stop here. I've been streaming for... Actually, no, I have time. I have time. We'll go along. We'll go along. Okay, let's continue. I'm so sorry, Sasato. I should have told you about the toxin. Ray. You have a strong sense of responsibility, I know. That's why you decided to shoulder the burden alone. No, that's not it. I was just scared of my failure coming to light, that's all. So I hope to retrieve the substance from the Englishwoman before anyone will find out. Before the trial started, do you remember what you said, Susato? That you had no doubt in your mind about my innocence, that you stand by me to the last. I remember, yes. And yet I didn't deserve your trust in me. I hid important details from you, Susato. I completely betrayed your faith in me. Hit me, Susato. I deserve it. No, in fact, throw me to the floor. Oh yeah, because we know about the Susato throwdown. No, that's too good for me as well. Drive me through the city streets. I'm no better, you know. Oh? Even though, in my heart, I knew you would pull the knife blade from Miss Barrett's brat, there was just a brief moment when, in my mind, I doubted you. Susato, I'm sorry. After I stood here and promised you that I stand by you and always be on your side, I betrayed your faith in me too. And as such, I failed you as a lawyer. Oh no. I think this situation has taught both of you a valuable lesson. Placing your unbridled faith in another is no easy task. Yes, Father, that fact has certainly struck a home. Which is why I can see clearly now, Soray. Yes. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? No. Oh, Susato. You know you'll always be a gallant, dashing lawyer in my eyes now. Oh, Ray. I was so scared, you know, when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The Englishwoman was sitting at the back of the hut, listening to what I was saying. I know it was you who stole the poison. I'm skipping that dialogue since it's flashback. She suddenly got... Yeah, I'm skipping that. With a knife in her back. It all happened right before my eyes. And you were the only people in the hut at the time. That's right. Just Miss Brett and myself. There was no one else. So I just don't understand how she could possibly have been stabbed like that. A great mystery indeed. I still can't believe it happened. That's why I just couldn't bring myself to speak up. It will be alright. However, it happened, and whatever really went on by the sea that day, I promise you that I'm gonna prove everything you said is true. Spoken like a true Mikotoba. Now, I think we should discuss what's coming up in the trial, don't you? We don't have much time. We must make sure we have our facts in order. Yes, I expect the poison is gonna come under the proceedings. The police should hopefully have identified it on the blade by now. The trouble is, it's a complete new laboratory synthesized blend of alkaloids. The police won't have any way of testing for it. Oh, I see. Yes, without this chemical reagent, it's impossible to detect this toxin. Chemical reagent. I sent a colleague of mine off with some earlier to deliver to police headquarters. I think perhaps you may have should have some as well, though, just in case. Okay. What's the matter, Susato? You're suddenly very quiet. In this newspaper article, exclusive deadly poison stolen from Human Medical Research Laboratory. I'm wondering how the information got out, given that it was a government secret. It was all the Englishwoman's doing. What? It was when the professor and Sosoki were being interviewed at the laboratory. That so-called English lady swarmed in, and without any compunction said to Professor Mikotoba, "Oh, Professor, surely your guests would love to hear about your work on the substance there." It put me in a very awkward position, to be frank. But Sosuke-san's curiosity had been piqued, so I had little choice but to give him a cursory introduction. So then, Sosuke-san knew about the poison. Yes, and it's highly likely that the reporter who was writing up the story about us would caught a glimpse of the toxin too. This, Minameno-san. By the way, did that reporter join you all the way to the beach? Oh, no, I don't remember the reporter being there. Indeed, he shouldn't have been. I very much doubt anyone will want him there. Oh. A known criminal has been given permission by the authorities to bathe at the seaside. Sosoki-san pointed out that inviting a reporter might be problematic, so the man was sent back to his office. Yet he obviously didn't go back. He secretly followed the party to the beach and took this very candid photo. And then presumably he posted it oh my gosh, I can't read this right. Anonymously to the police. Yes, that must be what happened. Counsel, we just heard the news witness is now ready to testify. The trial is about to resume. Please proceed into the to the courtroom at once. Speaking of bathrooms, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. Be right back. Alright, I'm back. Let's continue. It's time to steal ourselves once again then. Defense Attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo. Yes, that is my alias. Ray has put her faith in me now and told me everything. So I can't let her down. I have to prove that what she's telling the court is true. I have to prove what really happened that day. Alright, back to the courtroom. I hereby call the court to order as we reconvene to continue the trial of Ray Mababi. Prosecutor Aochi, have you summoned a new witness? Before I address the question, Your Excellency, I have some very important news to share. No, of course he's going to ramble about that. Oh? What news? And why does he look so happy about it? During the recess with the collaboration of Professor Mikotoba's laboratory at Yuan University, the police re-examined the knife that was used to end Miss Giselle Brett's life. Excellent. I admire your rapid handling of the matter. Oh, too kind, Your Excellency, too kind. I was merely carrying out your instructions, of course. I had the reagent delivered to police headquarters by rickshaw, so it would be there in good time. By judging by the man's swagger, I fear we might need to brace ourselves for the inevitable. And counsel, what were the results? This dagger, which was so cruelly used to end the life of the victim, was no trace of poison anywhere along his blade. What? Are you sure about that? I will stake the reputation of the police on it. Armed with the reagent, the test is extremely simple. They couldn't have made a mistake. Okay, so there was no poison on it. Oh boy, that's gonna be awkward. In short, the accused feeble excuse earlier has been utterly destroyed. Now, the prosecution is ready to call the new witness. The newspaper reporter who managed to capture a photo of the crucial moment. Good. Very well, officer. Bring in the witness. No trace of poison on the knife. But if that's really the case, how could the toxin have entered the victim's body? Witness, please state your name and occupation for the court. Raiten Menemeno of the Shirio News. And I'm what people like to call a journal. What's a journal, father? Do you know? It's simply a contraction of journalist. I'm there where the news breaks, putting pen to paper to catch those scoops so they will print it in the next morning. They don't call me the hero of the heroes for nothing. The nice guy of news. Oh, so it was you who took this photo, was it? Well, what have we here? I'm so sorry. What? Oh, brace yourself, people. Menemeno senses a scoop in the offing. Female student up to foul play defended by the curiously handsome young lawyer in Supreme Court. The readers will lap this up. We'll set it up about the fold of 72 point in the 5-leg formal to the morning edition. Huh? Right then, let's start with your name. I actually like this guy's animation, it's pretty cool. It's Ryotaro Naruhodo. Next, what made you become a lawyer? I wanted to reform our country's legal system, I suppose. Ryotaro has suddenly become very ambitious, I see. borrow Kazuma-sama's dream for a while. By the way, my name is Takehachi Aoichi. That's Takeshuki Aoichi. That so-called dark horse of the Supreme Court. My objection strikes fear into every defense lawyer's heart. Nah, the readers won't buy that. What? Witness. Yes? What this court demands to know is whether or not you were responsible for taking this photo. It was delivered anonymously to the Imperial Police Bureau only yesterday. Yeah, I wouldn't be a journalist if I didn't click quick when presented with a scoop like that now, would I? Sometimes stories call out to me. Sometimes I have to chase them down. But either way, you gotta be fast. Fast legs to run with a fast hand to write with. It's no good if you don't note it down, I always say. That's what I call my minimalism. I'm not even gonna question that. Minimalism. Ah, yes, I remember your face. We met that day when you were interviewing myself and Soseki-san. Yes, right. That was me. Menimeno again. I want to get his name right, but you were supposed to be going back to the Shura News office after our meeting. But the scoop is I didn't. Because that English woman's words had piqued my journalist's interest. Miss Brett's words. A criminal left to do as she pleases, just because she happens to be a British citizen. It's horse dung. This country's jurisdictions is rotten to the core. The Supreme Court ruling aren't worth the papers they're written on. The police are just imperial pawns. Stay your tongue, young man. There are complex political issues at play. Well anyways, I quickly jotted down those words she said in my memo pad. Are you ready? I'll read it out. It's all here. Right here it goes. I should like to go with everyone to see your country's coast. A serious criminal going on some junket. The people need to know about this. Why did he break that pencil? That's why I decided to sneak after them. To get this woman's story, so I could hammer her in the press. Do you mean to say that you did indeed witness it firsthand? The grim scene portrayed in this photo. Oh yes, I saw it with my very own journal eyes. From start to finish, through my viewfinder on my trusty camera. Thank you, Minamano-san. You will now give a formal testimony before the court. You will state exactly what it is that you witnessed on the event surrounding Miss Brett's death. Okay. The beach hut has made of shoddy old reed screens, so there were plenty of gaps. I could see inside through. The English woman was sitting on the stool when the student girl came in and started arguing with her. Seconds later, the girl pulled out a knife, throwing the English woman to the floor as she stabbed her in the back. My smoldering journal spirit burst into flames. Quickly, a flash as I whipped my camera ready to click. I pulled apart the rough weave of my screens and poked the lens through the perfect shot. This guy is cool, I like him. Read screens, you say? Right, you could see them clearly enough in the great shot I snapped. The hut walls were just screens made by the coarsely woven reeds. Yes, it allows the breeze to pass through and bring some relief into the summer heat. And it was a breeze for me to poke my camera through and see the whole thing hotting up. Ignoring for the time being the appalling invasion of privacy involved, did you witness everything that happened from the moment the defendant entered the hut? Oh yes, I saw it. The whole thing from the start to finish. And you say you took the photograph through a gap of one of the screens. Luckily for me, they were pretty shoddily woven. I pulled the reeds apart and thrust the lens of my camera through the gap. Would I get away with it, or would I be seen? It was the gamble of a lifetime. A tendency of purpose that consider admirable to journalists, I suppose. Run a risk one day, run a scoop the next. That's the minimalism in a nutshell. At last, it will appear we have a genuine witness to this wicked crime. The evidence and testimony are extremely compelling. I believe we may be close to a verdict. No. Wonderful news, Your Excellency. Wonderful. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that this testimony begs for one very large question. What question? Exclusive news, a startling photograph, all the makings of an exceptional story for the reporter. Why then was the story never published? Oh, that's right. It seems clear to me that there were circumstances at play here that yet to be understood. Ha, more pathetic excuses. Very well then, Counsel. Proceed with your cross-examination. Yes, Your Excellency. There's more to this reporter than meets the eye. He's keeping something from this case very close to his chest. I just thought about something. The pen. That's his. That's gotta be his pen. I just thought about that. RM. The pizza.
Hold it!
Do you swear before the court that you actually saw the precise moment when the stabbing took place? Ha! The precise moment. I didn't see just that. I saw the whole hellish scene play out, from start to finish. I have here a simple plan of the beach hut. Perhaps you could use it to explain to the court exactly what you witnessed. Right you are. It's all here in my mini memo pad. Which I first peer into the hut. I'm sure that the English woman was on the stool on the back of the hut. Yes, the accused's own testimony confirmed that. She just sat at the back of the hut, smiling sweetly, is what I noted down. It's my turn to testify now. Try not to interrupt. Then, the next moment, as I was watching, the evil student girl enters the hut. After a while, the pair of them ended up in the middle of a hut, arguing furiously. The Englishwoman went for the student, but the girl dodged out of the way. And in the flash, plunged the knife into her adversary's back as the two passed each other. What you describe is a grim crime indeed. Never sugarcoat the truth. That's what the minimism says. The beach, okay. By the way, Minimemo-san, while you were watching the terrible scene unfold before your eyes through the gap in the screen, did it not occur to you to try to prevent the tragedy rather than capture it on film? Journalists have to be observers. We can't get involved. That's our ratio deterrent. So you didn't converse with Miss Brett at all? Obviously not. An observer always remains on the outside looking in. And that's something to be proud of? Is it? Your Excellency, if I may. Yes, Professor. I think the witness's last expertly phrased statement should perhaps be added to his formal testimony. Father, what are you... I will grant the defense request. Minimemo-san, will you supplement your formal testimony with the aforementioned statement? Well, I'll be glad to prove that my words aren't meaningless. I never once set a foot. Okay, so he just added this. I'm starting to think that this is his pen.
Objection!
Many memo-san, until now I had a firm belief that newspapers are in the business of uncovering and publishing the truth. You spot on there. The press doesn't lie, which is why I'm proud to wear the emblem of the Shuri News on my arms. In a way, that's more minimalism. Sadly though, it seems the journalists who writes for those papers don't always share the same passion for the truth. What? What are you suggesting with those recriminatory words, Counsel? Many memo-san, do you recognize this fountain pen? Ah! This pen was found at the scene of Miss Brett's death. In fact, the murder victim was gripping it in her hand as she died. What are you? If you look at this barrel of the pen, you'll notice that it's the owner's initials that are engraved in there. RM. Yes, thank you for bringing that up, Counsel. The initials of the accused, Ray Membami, no. Is it a coincidence, I wonder, that your initials are also RM? No. Rayton Mini Memo, RM. That's horse dung. Can't you see one of the central tenets of minimum mezzo is being a pencil user? And yet, as the court will clearly be able to see, on your right hand, there is very obvious blue ink stains. It will appear that you must rather carelessly left is somewhere recently. Your favorite fountain pen, that is. Horsey horse dung. Many Memo-san, is it not the case that before she died, you met with Giselle Brett in that beach hut?
Objection!
Why should we listen to this absurd nonsense? It's nothing but another excuse. Exactly. Oh, wait! I just noticed a clue. I just noticed something. I just noticed something. Right there. Right there. Okay. On his R-band, Shuri News will stand behind me all the way. I deny everything. There must be as many people with the initials RM as there are the stars in the night sky. The defense has neither the time nor the inclination to count every star in the sky. Huh? And there's no need anyways, because this pen has more to tell. Yes, there is another clue. A clue that undeniably proves that its owner really is. In that case, Counsel, the defense will now show the court where the alleged clue lies. Of course, Your Excellency. The clue on this... yeah, I just figured it out already. Let's turn this right here. There's some sort of emblem here, look. But it isn't a Yume University one. It must belong to some other organization, I suppose, a business of some kind. But that would simply imply that the pen doesn't in fact belong to Ray. Now I'm trying to move it more closer. Okay. Got it! As well as the initials, there are also an emblem on this fountain pen. An emblem that you will of course recognize, Mini Memo-san. Yeah, the one that you're showing off in your arm. Goodness me, it's the emblem of the Shuri News. In other words, the owner of this pen is an employee of the Shoyu News whose initials are RM. Suddenly the stars in the night sky doesn't seem so numerous, do they? Well, Mini Memo-san, how do you respond? Oh shit. Order, order. Explain yourself, witness. He has nothing to say. Ha! Okay, he's laughing. So, this is how the mighty Supreme Court works, is it? Using coercive tactics to have well-meaning citizens reveal harmless secrets. I use nothing but honest tactics. Alright then, fine. I won't try to hide it anymore. Yes, not long ago, before the grim tragedy unfolded, I, a Shoyu news reporter on behalf of the public, conducted an interview with the Englishwoman. An interview? You never mentioned this before. When exactly was this? As I said, it was before the evil little student showed up in the hut. I couldn't have lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes, that's all. It was just a brief exchange. But it came to nothing. As many momoesa say, the people who don't pay their dues for unworthy news. However insignificant you deem to be, this court cannot overlook the meeting between yourself and the victim. You will testify now under oath about the precise nature of this meeting and what transpired. Got it. Yes, alright, but on one condition. Condition? In all good conscience, I couldn't speak out alone about this. You need to call back the earlier witness, Sosoki Natsume-san. Sosoki? Oh yes, according to my notes here, that man has a secret of his own. Embrace yourself. It's not a harmless one. It's big. What? What? Many memocism states that one man's secret is another man's front page story. Very well, I will grant the witness request in this instance. Officer, summon the earlier witness back in the stand. Sosuke-san, hiding something. Okay, the testimonies. I asked the Englishwoman for an interview, but she declined, so I left the hut without making a fuss. Then, watching secretly from outside, I saw the woman being stabbed and the other witnesses coming running. The detective realized that the victim still had a pulse, so he ran off to fetch help. That's when this writer man here asked the woman a very significant question. But he didn't say anything about this testimony, which is why many memoism demands I reveal it now. Oh my. You mean to say the victim regained consciousness? Well, and when she did, you decided to ask her a question? That's true. Yes. He did. And that's not all. The woman gave him a very definite answer. An answer that incriminates the accused. That is preposterous. Why am I only hearing about this now? Why didn't you mention this before, you Yoko hack? It wasn't even a conversation. Yes, I did post whether English rose a question. I don't deny it, but she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious. Counsel for the defense, I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth. Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut? Man. Let's press on this right here. What question? What exactly did he say? Well now, you should hear that from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Riderman? Ah! Out with it, you Yonko hack! What did you say to her? What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman? Well, in truth, I've been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles in the sand, you see? Well, the seaside is a place to be leisure, I suppose, for a grown man. But then all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, a young girl's panic-stricken cries for her pierced in the air. Ray. I ran up to the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed victim. As soon as Inspector Hasanaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin. But what did you ask her, Soseki-san? I asked her, who did this to you? Don't protect this any longer. How did the woman respond? She didn't. She didn't say nothing. But when in the stand, you will answer the questions asked at you. Now, without any evasion of readiness, I demand that you amend your testimony. I will. Who did this to you? But she never replied. Okay. She just lifted a trembling finger and pointed in the direction. Wait, that's new! That's new! Oh, this has all been updated. I'm just gonna press everything now. That definitely was replaced, okay. So Miss Brett pointed the finger at the defendant. Soseki-san, is that really true? It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled on the floor before us with the student girl standing on the far side of her. And when I asked who did this to you, the Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut. Which was, it can't be denied, the direction of the student girl who stands accused today. No. Soseki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony? But fiddlesticks, I say! This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese. Yes, of course, the Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling. Everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no, not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. To somewhere of the back of the hut where nobody was standing at all. You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear? Yes, that's it, unclear. It's very unclear.
Objection!
Your Excellency, surely this proves that the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavers slightly. But there can be no doubt that there was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because as the court could see, there was no one other than the accused of the direction the victim was pointing. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could possibly have committed this crime. I am inclined to agree, and in the absence of my credible argument to the contrary, I believe we can now conclude this trial. No. No! The headline's right in itself. Dashing Lawyer's Hope dashed 92 point across the whole page. We'll do extra edition. Oh my gosh. This is a serious I can't read. This is a serious blow, Sasato. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and sustain our claim with evidence, the judge will give his ruling, and the trial will be over. But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet. Impossible, though. The task may seem, but we have no choice. We must think back over everything we learned this far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need. Ray gave us her account on how events unfolded in the defendant's antechambers before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment when Miss Brett was killed. I'm gonna skip the flashback. Yeah, I already read this like 3 times already. How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but herself and Ray? Somewhere amid in the information we gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question. I take it then that the defense has nothing further to add. So, the gallant Yoko student's luck finally runs out. I can't say I'm surprised. In that case, I am ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter. This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding, and how did he stab the victim? We're just gonna say I know how, even though I don't know.
Objection!
Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication for the time being. I want to look at something real quick. Oh, sorry. Let's look at the court record. Oh, wait. I see something here. Ha. Okay, I got it. Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication for the time being. Oh? To what end, Counsel? The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that could explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection!
An alternative theory? None exists.
Objection!
There was someone else present at the scene who could committed this crime. What? And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was, those around her at the time, by mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction. This is fiction, fantasy. Very well, as you seem so sure of yourself, Counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryotaro Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency. You will present your latest theories to the court by means of this plan. At the moment when the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed? Okay, so I was just looking at the picture. It had to be right here, like behind the hut. Like right here.
Take that!
It had to be there. Naruhodo-san would never given up, and I am a Naruhodo now. The true culprit was fatally stabbed, Miss Brett, was concealed in this location here. Are you mad, Consul? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut? What? But student lawyer Naruhodo-san is Squire. That makes no sense at all. You You just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop snap. But I didn't see any suspicious individual loitering about. I could swear to that. Obviously, if the culprit has been outside the hut, there is no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the hut. Actually, Prosecutor Aochi, there is a way. And, in point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that it is precisely the way Miss Brett was killed. You're bluffing. You're just bluffing. You yonkil. The defense assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You will need to give us more guidance, counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut? I was looking at this. I was looking at this little gap right here. She was sitting on this chair right here, and she got stabbed in the back right there. That's what I think happened. Let's present that.
Take that!
The original photo of the crime scene. Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the breach hut.
Objection!
Do you take us for fools? There's no hint of any such thing. I'm not sure that everyone present will agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to. Counsel, once again, I must call on you to be explicit for the court. Where on this photograph is it? I already know where it is. It's definitely right here. I already know where it is. It's right there. There's a little crack right here. Right there. Look closely just here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you could see that the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds. No, it can't. I can't see such a thing. It's true that the hut in question has 4 walls as you expect, however. By parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them. This is extraordinary. Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. And of everyone present at the scene, there is only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Raiten Menememo-san, it could only been you. Got him!
Objection!
The preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Just look at this photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume, as part of this farcical scenario, that this assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
No. No, of course not. We're not? If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death, I'm gonna skip this. A stool? Have another look at the photograph. The slit in the reed screen would align perfectly with the back of the person who was sitting on that stool. My word! So in fact, the victim was killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the reed screen. Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instantly. But then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut. Before the defendant, Membami-san, Paul's eye. Now I do wonder, okay, she got stabbed, but I still wonder about the poison though. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth, because she still had the symptoms of her eyes dilating. Anyways, let's continue. And the truth of what mattered and what happens on that beach that day. Because that's a little plot hole right there. By your silence, Mini Memo-san, I take it that you don't deny the charge. This is absurd. That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means that the defendant, Membami-san, is innocent of the crime. Oh, thank goodness. I finally made him cave. I must say, I've never been more proud. No, this can't be. The Aochi clan can't. What of my growth? My growth of hope. It wasn't all an apparition. I can't accept this. I won't. I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore move to conclude my proceeding by delivering my final... Oh, of course. Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, is it? Suppressing well-meaning citizens' freedoms to speak and branding them as criminals. But we established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut, through the reed screen's walls. And no one but you was in that place of time to have that handed at hilt at the blade. It's a perfectly logical deduction. So, your argument hinges at the location of whoever stabbed the Englishwoman, does it? Well, it seems a little irrelevant now. Irrelevant? Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference. If you think about it. After all, this trial already shown the whole thing hinges on something else. What? What are you talking about? Brace yourself, little man. I'm talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. What? Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the poison. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I was just thinking about that. The poison? Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? I understand that the deadly poison you were developing was stolen from the laboratory, correct? And it's been shown that this poison has administered to the victim, Miss yeah, that was all. I was just thinking about that. Is that right? That is correct. The unusual constrictions of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used. I see, I see. So, that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed. Given her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly yes. If she had been dead already, the poison would have been circulating in her blood. How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely, it matters not a jot who stabbed whom in the back with those blades. Because, quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by a knife, but by poison.
Objection!
I mean, it wasn't like that earlier, but whatever. But that could be explained by the poison being on the blade, as I already...
Objection!
Forgotten already, have we, Yonkel? During those very proceedings, the laboratory of the professor of their sites insisted in proving and the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever. So let me get this down. The facts, as skillfully established by the defense in this trial, turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right? Well... But where does this leave us? How, in In that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There is an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. You mean she drank it? Have another look at the photograph here, as you can see. Yeah, you can see there's a bottle of carbonated water and glass has been knocked into the sandy floor on the beach hut. The poison could have been slipped in. Oh, right. But this is a reference to the first game. That when she drinks it, it doesn't do nothing unless there's like a wound. So I guess they had to stab. Okay. Maybe that's what it is. The poison could have been slipped into either. So somebody made Miss Brett drink it. Well, what do you know? Looking at those dashing eyes, this would make a great front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person you should be looking at. It would make no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already.
Hold it!
Established? What are you talking about? Don't tell me you've forgotten. That's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. Me? What on earth does he mean? Oh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is the prime press fodder this is. It would seem that this trial is not destined to end yet, after all. I hereby call the witness to give a further testimony. Alright, here we go again. Let me stretch. That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency. You claim to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison. You will explain in court, in your testimony, the basis about how you make a claim. I am a journalist and I am a man. I never tried to run from or hide from anything in my life. I am not about to start now, because that's my many-memoism. For a brief moment, I thought I illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. Just where is this trial going to take us? Alright, another testimony. Alright, complete innocence. Oh yes, I stabbed the English woman, and it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. Because why would I bother to stab the woman if I already poisoned her? When I heard the student girl and the pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have just seen justice done. So you admitted then that everything happened as I described. That you are the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the reed screen. You could blame the miserable country of ours. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and let murderers walk free. What kind of future could a country like this have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bag in the middle of a charming lady's back. I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in there. As someone who spends his life seeing the truth is told, I feel really, really awful about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in it for the victim and got to her before me. That's right, you guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. You're implicating Ray again. She's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap, this journal here is off the hook. The argument is sound, certainly. If the witness has administered the poison himself, he needs only have waited for it to take effect. So since stabbing the victim in the back would have just would be nonsensical. And therefore the reporter has nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical. That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you all see the light. Justice at last. This is unbelievable. I agree. And after I made so much progress in proving his guilt, it's still assault though. He's still assaulted, even if okay, whatever. Yeah, she drank the poison, but guess what? He still did a fatal blow. And after I made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he gonna get away with it now? Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stopped looking in the way forward until the judge's final gavel. Very well then, counsel. Proceed what I assume will be your final cross-examination. I like how he said, assume. Yes, Your Excellency. Okay.
Hold it!
What exactly were they arguing about? About what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago. That's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John Wilson, a professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered. Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai, however. There was a little doubt that she was simply being acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. It was eating that student girl upside. You could see it. I really felt for her. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Ray, young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whatever you feel like it. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of something very important here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this is an awful man making all of this up. Susatsu, please, you have to make them listen. Stop giving out my name. Return to the dock at once, Menbami-san. We are in the middle of a cross-examination.
Hold it!
Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. Exactly, he's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty, great peeping Tom. Whoa, take it easy there. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defendant has to say. Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks. I will grant the request of the defense. But, Your Excellency, this is likely to be the final cross-examination. That's what you said last time, Your Honor. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, while recognizing that this controversy regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It was nothing to do with... Okay, I guess we just press this.
Hold it!
That stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her of being the one to steal it. I mean, just to think that how she killed Dr. Wilson. That's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had knowledge and knew poison. But surely it would be no easy to steal some toxins being developed by the government. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if a thief managed to avoid being seen by himself, myself or a colleague, getting the poison out there will be difficult. That's true, I pestered Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited the laboratory. But as I left, I was searched from top to tail. Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed that the existence of the toxin would be developing, you see. And since Sosuke-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, I gave nothing away, other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I had a singular, terrible experience with a deadly poison. I wanted to look my old enemy in the eyes. Surely you can understand that. To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. I told her that if there were to be an incident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be at the university. The military would be dragged into it too. The whole government even. It would be a complete disaster. And how did Miss Brett respond to your concern? She just curled those beautiful lips of hers, and she said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually. Ah, yes. Minamemo-san. Well, one small question, if you don't mind. I do mind. Can you see I'm busy? Clearly you were outside the beach listening in while the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Then it was you who wrote the article about what you heard. I don't think he's not knowing what he's getting at. Exclusive! Deadly poison stolen from Human Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. The details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry, don't know what you're talking about. He's sweating bullets though. Yes, look at this, the entire article. It's almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word. Ugh! Well, Minamemo-san. As a journal, and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my resources. That's a founding principle of Minamemo-ism. Father's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he's based it on what he overheard from the outside of the hut. The details of the poison are... Okay, we got this. We got this. So that's what it was all about. You were trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her. Shut up! My story never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, it doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want to get it on record. Very well, you may amend your formal testimony again. Oh, he's pissed. The point is that you poisoned someone. There will be no reason to go and stab the person as well. I don't know. We're gonna press everything he says. Perhaps you doubted the efficacy of the poison and sought to make your victim will die. That's horse dung. Of course he was gonna say that. What? That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although, it might surprise you to learn that I am a bit of a pepper pourer as it happens. Once the victim has taken the poison, she would have been only minutes away from death. And yet, this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. There has to be a good reason for that. If it was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly, he must have done prior to Ray entering the hut. Yes, that's undeniable. But between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there was one very crucial change in the situation. Sorry, what change? The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishwoman. Ah, yes, that's it. That's when Minamemo-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he used. That could be the key here. If the victim has unwittingly taken the poison already, the reporter would have had no reason to stab her. On the face of it, the logic sounds entirely reasonable. But there's no question that this man was responsible for Miss Brett's murder. If we could think of a plausible explanation as to why he might have stabbed her for even after the poison, I feel sure that everything will drop into place. That's what we should be looking for. Yes, I agree. In order to do that, I must try to glean more information. Let's see. Article about poison that was stolen from the laboratory based on eavesdropping. Not sure you deadly being secretly developed. Even the smallest amount entering the body can via into the mouth. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is referring to the first game. Like, you need a wound first for it to work. Currently methods cannot... Yeah, that's what I thought. This is from the first game. Onset of symptoms occur in minutes, starting with impaired breathing and cure.
Objection!
Well, I could think of one reason. What? What? But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Did you glean all the information on this newspaper article from what you overheard outside the hut? Of course he did. There's no question about it. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told is that there was a terrible toxin. And there was one more important fact to consider. According to the witness, Mimbami, verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel? Minimemo-san has made it clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the hut. If the defendant has somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it. Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison while the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Mimbami entered the hut. Yes, very accurate. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Minimemo-san overheard some worrying information. Worrying information? What information? The information when he includes in his article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy and that it could be readily obtained. Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come... So is this the... I forgot the name of the poison. I think this is the same poison from the first game. Something. It starts with a C. The only possible place it could come is from my lab. And furthermore, anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs of death. The extreme constrictions of the pupil. Yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life has been ended by the use of particular poisons, which would reduce the number of suspects to only to a handful of people. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxins we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it. Mimbami makes no exception. Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson, unaware of the telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, written me a memo. It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day, and it was you who administered the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that it was a terrible mistake, because of the poison caused such unusual symptoms and it was so untraceable. As you listen in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learn these facts. But you already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involves stabbing the victim in the back through the ring screens.
Objection!
But what good could that possibly do? Isn't it obvious, Counsel? The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constrictions, but he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he? Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secrets of poison, no one would ever suspect it. This is extraordinary. Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easy to identify, so the killer had to be masked to use, which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back. The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward? Well, there are a number of, yes, I counter-comply. Hey, Zombie. Happy Saturday. I hope you're doing well. Maybe shut me out. Alright, let's continue.
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way he nurtures the remnants of the top knot, he is clinging to the last hope. Come on! My hope he lost his hair. You pathetic, useless, fallen samurai. Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? My growth is on the rise. I don't need a counter-argument. What? What are you talking about? It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say. Gave it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. Lots of fine theories. But I don't need a counter-argument because you don't need an argument yourself. What's your evidence? Where is your evidence? Yes, you make it all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean, what the professor said earlier in this trial is all here in my many memos. Every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what the Soyu News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. I'm gonna skip this flashback. Oh, you was playing Monster Hunter. Cool. How's that then? Blown the story wide open. See? I write in mini memo. A mere reporter from the Shoyu News. Couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory. Oof. It's Saturday, yep it is. But there can't be any more questions of it. You played a bit with Bart, that's cool. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it. And he used it to kill. And if that's the case, as you identified, the poison itself is definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here. What's your point, you annoying handsome country bumpkin? My point is this, there is one way that you, Mini Memo-san, could have stolen that poison that day. I have heard enough verbal conjecture now, thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. What proof do you have that the victim stole the poison on the day in question? Take that! Well, I think you agree that it's clearly demonstrated by this piece of evidence here. By that, you intend to prove that the witness stole the poison? How exactly, counsel? Ah, you couldn't know that until you attempted yourself, Your Excellency. That being the case, you will attempt it... Oh, I got that wrong. Oops. How did I get that wrong, though? That being the case, you will attempt it yourself next time. Okay. Oh, dear. That didn't go down as well as I hoped. That file in which the poison is kept is still in the laboratory, which means that the thief must have transferred quantity to another container. Don't give it away, Father. So what you're saying is I should be looking for a piece of evidence that could be used as a vessel. Well, yes, that is more or less what I said indeed. I must have another good look through the court records. Yeah, I'll do that right now. What do I have? Let's see. What proof do you have that this whole witness stole the Gotta make sure I save. I established that already. The initials RM. And we established this already. What? A useless samurai? Yeah, because he lost his hair in the first game. Kasuma chopped off his hair. So now he's a useless samurai. Let's see, so... I could have sworn it would have been this.
Take that!
I think you agree it's clearly demonstrated. Did I get this? You couldn't know that until you attempted your that, so let's see. Did I get this wrong? Yeah, I got that wrong. So it's something else then. Alright, I'm gonna skip the dialogue. What can it be then? What could he use for a vessel then? That's what they want me to... Okay, so... Maybe this? The chemical reagent? No, but that was something that the father gave him. I'm thinking. What could he use as a vessel? Maybe open this? Can I open? If I take off the lid... Now let's unscrew the barrel, shall we? Okay. This must be the little reservoir of ink. Yes, you fill it by drawing the ink from bottle up through the nib. Oh, okay. Is something wrong, Father? Just that there doesn't actually appear to be any ink there, that's all. Oh yes, you're right. It's pretty much empty. Well, it could be on the verge of running out, I suppose. Alright, let's try this again. Maybe it's that. The proof, Your Excellency. This fountain pen. Ah! Okay, that's what it was. I had to examine it first. My mistake! How could that be relevant? These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. I'm gonna type in oof on the chat again. Okay, there we go. Just want to make sure we're good. I swear by the weasel hair calligraphy brushed and nothing else. These newfangled pens are... Yeah, as you can see, this guy has a new hairstyle. He used to have his hair tied up going up. But in the first game, Kazuma chopped off his hair. That's why his hair is down. And you see the little knot in the middle of his forehead. I saw a screenshot of the Little Mermaid remake. Prince Eric looks like a bum. I can't wait to see this. I'll check it out. I'm gonna type in "oh boy." The movie looks soulless with no spirit. I believe you. Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, I obviously love my fountain pen. Suck up a suscom of a sumptuous ink, and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye. By the way, this guy definitely looks like oh, what's the name? What's the name of that author? He looks like Edgar Allan Poe. He definitely looks. Capcom must have took inspiration and gave him the Edgar Allan Poe look. That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nibs of the pen in order to write with later. What does this talking of sucking up ink have? Ah. And just as possible to suck up into the ink into the reservoir, it's also possible to inject it through the nib again, of course. My word, can this be really? Well, Mini Memo-san. Ah. But yeah, I hope you're doing well, Zombie. I hope you have a good Saturday. I just had some sushi today. No lettuce wrap this time. This was actual legit sushi. It was good. But yeah, when you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir.
Objection!
Absurd! That never happened! True, we heard that there was procedures in the place to prevent thieves from this lab. But would anyone have thought to think inside a fountain pen of all places? No, I'm a little ashamed to say. That for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not be conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. I remind the court that this pen was found in clutches of the victim when she died. Typing objection. The person who was black called out the movie that the actress that plays Ariel and Eric doesn't look like they are playing a role to get each other. I can't wait to see this. I'll check it out when I'm done with the stream. In other words, it was dropped by the scene of Mini Memo-san. Oh, he's pissed. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting? The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act while the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison into her glass.
Objection!
There could be any numbers of explanations. For example, the witness could only been using the pen to write down the details of the conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell by her quivering hand.
Objection!
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself, if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to an interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison was filled. Witness, what do you have to say? Okay. So this is how our modern justice system... He keeps questioning that. He's definitely guilty. Now he's just gonna like blame the system. So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? What the fuck? I can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. What was that? What was that? You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen. That's wild speculations. Nothing more. If you thought you could bring down a fine upstanding citizen with a trick like that, think again. It looks as though it's gonna take one more decisive blow to finish this matter. I see. The situation is now very simple. It rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison. And the question... I'm sorry, I'm still laughing about that. That was so stupid. And therefore, it all depends whether or not the defense can prove that he did with the evidence. No such evidence would possibly exist.
Objection!
Minimum memo-san. This is how modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you. Very well then, I call upon the defense to present the evidence. This is it. Then, this will be the final piece of the puzzle. I hope so. We've been fucking stalling this shit for the longest. Alright. The defense could prove by means this item that it was the witness pen that it was used to steal the poison. Alright, do I have to... It's obviously this, but do I have to observe it? Now I'm scared. The label... I'm just gonna... I don't know. It's German, so a knowledge of English is gonna be little help here, I'm afraid. Couldn't you just have written medicine on it, Japanese? That's all we have to read. German is the international language of medicine, my dear. But yes, I see the merit of labeling the bottle in Japanese, though I'm not sure medicine would be entirely appropriate. Alright, I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure. I don't want to have the same incident with the pen. Nothing appears obvious. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, we're good. I think we're good. Counsel, what is this bottle? This bottle contains the unique chemical reagent that identifies the poison in question. Ah! Yes, that poison is an entire new synthetics of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It will be possible to detect traces by any other method. Oh, and from another perspective. Simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check traces of poison. A reagent? What? One drop of this content of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Minamemo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond reasonable doubt. Ah. No, you can't. I won't. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test to the fountain pen at once. What the fuck? I can't read this because he's just talking. I'm there. That was pretty cool. Did I do it right? That was the societal takedown, wasn't it? I actually like that animation. That was pretty cool. Not quite. That was a Ryotora takedown. She just renamed it. But yeah, that was pretty cool. The instant the first drop of the reagent touched the nib on the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present that was very over the top. When I saw it in there in the lab, the poison, the devil got hold of me, and I decided to do it on a whim. I excused myself and emptied all the ink down and sinked the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully. And then you waited for an opportunity to suck up all the poison, didn't you? Into your fountain pen. Yes, that's right. Answer me one thing, Minamemo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of and expose it to an article. I mean, it was a secret project after all, too juicy for a journal like me to pass up. Then, why did the English woman ended up dead? I went into the hut intending to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter, a known killer enjoying full freedom, invading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman pouring into practice journalism. Really? You must learn the difference between reporting and listening outdoors. You ignorant plebeian. What? What did you call me? This country, with its pretensions for a justice system to free press, is very depressing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from. That's when I remember about the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with that, what she's done, when she clearly has no remorse at all. I suppose it was just my journal spirit, getting all fired up. I'd like to ask you something. Yes. You often talk about justice. But surely as a journalist, you could use other means to deliver that justice you sought. There's no justice in the press. Sorry. After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what happened in the courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up. That's what it was. A cover-up? What do you mean? I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say. Oh, come on. Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national? Consular jurisdiction should never come to it. And yet that puffed up Englishwoman was going to sail away in the sunset a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal was done between Britain and Japan. I won't deny that. I think he's right about that. What sort of deal? I'm done my research. I dug it all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore up that article. He came under pressure from the government, you mean? If our government is going to let out criminals walk free, if they're going to crush the free press, I don't know why I said fresh, then what choice do I have to see the justice is done myself? Let's not forget, Minamemo-san, that you committed murder yourself, and you try to let the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Giselle Brett. What? The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion, at last, finally. Counsel for the defense, Ryotaro Naruhodo. Oh yeah, that's right, that's me. Yes, sorry, Your Excellency, I'm just musing in a manly way here. I'm totally a guy. It's almost unbelievable that this is your first experience at the Supreme Court. It was an excellent performance. In truth, It very reminded me of your cousin exploits. Oh, Naruhodo-san, Ryunosuke you mean? The way he handled that trial 9 months ago, and the way you handled this one, it gives me hope that we could genuinely enter a new era of justice in this land. That's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your contemporaries. Oh, thank you. So, Prosecutor Aoichi, do you have any final thoughts? Wait, what's that box in front of him? Prosecutor Aoichi? What's he doing? Wait, is he gonna kill... No. I've been bested by the callow youth not once, but twice. Is he gonna perform Senpoku? If there was any shred of my former self left, it has withered and died here today. Gosh, your journey to cultural enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it? Silence! Rather than living on the shame, oh my gosh, this guy. I will end it now with this blade. For that is the true path of Achuism. Ouchie-ism. One hope that's the only way. Sorry, I'm laughing. One hopes that's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witnesses. He has nothing to say. Spring on my top knot. The time is right for farewell. Oh, he's gonna cut his hair. Hope is lost forever. And then he quoted himself. What the fuck? Yeah, he's gonna cut his hair. No! That was his last hope. So dramatic. Rest in peace, hair. So sad. So stupid. Why not? Alright, now in regard to the defendant, Rei Membami-san. Yes, Your Excellency, we must be done. We're almost done. I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Hooray! It's always... Oh, it's raining sakura flowers. Court is adjourned. All right. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I could do to stay standing. Oh yeah, I gave him a costume. That's why he looks like that. Lawyers have great responsibilities, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Susato! Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there. Ray and father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you... Oh no, I think I'm going to cry. It wasn't easy, but together we made it. I was on the verge of tears to the end too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Ray, so I would have to say that the congratulations belongs to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over, so no more of this formal, stupid humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger, to throw cautions to the wind. Caution to the what? I'm the great defense lawyer, Ryotaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. What the fuck is a milk bar? Or something. Right, I see. I'll think about it, right? At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Isn't there anyone else we could throw together? I hope you're not looking at me, Ray. Oh my goodness. No, of course not. No, of course not. There is at last, Ray's lovely smile. You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you, defense attorney Ryotaro Naruhodo. Thank you, but I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyways, it's time to bid farewell to Ryotaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now. Yeah, go back to being a girl. So I never miss him again. Then, what a terrible shame. What? Oh yeah, they didn't know. They didn't know. Yeah. What is happening? Yeah, they didn't know. They didn't know. Sasaki-san and Inspector Hasanaga, I do hope you're keeping well. Is that really you? Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope. But it's me. Susato Mikotoba. I don't... So dashing, so divine! No! Doubly dashing, yes! Devilishly divine! Divine, look at you! I had no idea, Miss Susato-san, that you were the cousin! Astonishing, astounding, ace attorney! Poor Sasaki. So confused. Yes, it was the gender bend. I still remember his first time I met him. He was in a prison cell in London. What an extraordinary conundrum it was for the unwitting student from Japan found himself in. But after Naruhodo's skillful defense on that Old Bailey, he was free to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author. I'm stunned. That's truly impressive. That's a truly impressive disguise. Even I had no idea, and I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau, who came up with Mr. Turtle no less. I'm not sure you will be admitted to that, Miss Spectre. Amazing, you're a woman of many faces, I see. Just two, really. And this was once in a lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on you though, Spectre. I like how the turtle's head bobs up and down. Well, I am a professional, of course. I do worry about Inspector Hasanaga sometimes, I really do. 9 months ago, when he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as a head waiter at a restaurant. And then on the steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. Though that didn't help you, did it? Kazuma-sama. From my perspective, I had to admit that I had mixed feelings about this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever. What do you mean? I'm talking about the murder that the English woman committed at the end of last year. Ah yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand. Dr. John Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now the culprit herself is dead. We will probably never know the answer. On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Sherlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean. Oh yeah, changed his costumes too. Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course. Ah, my arch nemesis, how lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the story published about him in the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John Wilson. Yeah, I think, okay, old jokes aside and puns aside, it was Sherlock Holmes and Watson. I think his name was Watson, not Wilson, but yeah. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the best friends of the partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Yes, grandmother told me about it. On returning to Japan, I took up my professionalism at the university, but I also served another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs. Yes, I was aware of that too. In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you. Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because of my urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you collapsed with a high fever and you were growing weaker by the day. What? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know, because after the long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience in me in some way, or harm me? That's really the only explanation I could think of. Dear me, do you reserve your most cutting glares of your father, Susato? I'm sorry, my dear. I can't. Wait, what happened? Oh, this guy again. Many Memo-san. So, one throw wasn't enough for you. I got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor, me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student fate. Visiting student? Giselle Bright, you mean? No, not her. The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago. What? Student of law. Is he talking about Kasuma? Yep, I'm talking about Kasuma. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kasuma? Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never... Ugh! Wait, what happened? Wait, what the fuck? Why did... I didn't expect to find him in here. Judge, what happened? What? Judge, we was gonna get some backstory right there. He just fucking cock blocked right there. He's like, no spoilers, please. He just fucking karate chopped him. No spoilers, please. Were you officers playing that? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. I'm so mad. If we was gonna get some story right there, he fucking said, no spoilers, please. I was coming to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived, Eugene, and a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with him. I'll be there shortly. Oh, Your Excellency. The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore. Merely your father's friend. Seishiro Jikoku. It's funny that he has that last name, though. Jikoku. Because I know what that means. And may I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken more of a dashing appearance. Susato. Did you know all along, from the start of the trial? A judge sees everything, Susato. I couldn't let you take the risk. If Seishiro, here hadn't known and he recognized you. So I had a word in ear beforehand as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we? Yes. Having ruling on that case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address. Before you go, Father. Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date. But well done again, both of you. You did admirably. I'm so mad. I'm so mad because there's a bigger case going on, and they're just like, nope, no spoilers. Thank you very much, she says. What did you think of Senshiro's sling, eh? It's been a while since I sent a man flying like that. Judge, I'm so mad at you. We was getting into some heavy plots there, and you just fucking said no spoilers. Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Giselle Brett, about Dr. Wilson. And now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. I'm gonna have to bring this up with Father sometime. When nobody else is around. Mikotoba? Could I have a word? Okay, maybe he'll tell us some spoilers. Yes, of course, what is it? I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Oh? I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. This I have to hear. Yeah, seriously, because fucking Judge knocked out my spoilers. Please, Sosoki, tell me, please, before someone cuts me off. I will. As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness, Naruhodo stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get a ship back into my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experience in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Mikotoba. He asked me all sort of things about my report. My father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyways, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. But it was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you asking you to return to Japan. What was it then? That part my father was interested in. I don't really know. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in. Of course, I could never forget. Father seemed to conceal himself with the second case. The second one? You mean the one where Mr. Shones forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you or any member of the public is this the first. Well, I don't care. I don't have to listen to what the detective has to say. Anyways, the point is, it seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. That horrific, heinous case. The case of the haunting Longines. That case somehow causes my father to summon me back to Japan. I thought that whole business was over, but it seems like I was wrong. Perhaps that was the only start. Perhaps the story is not yet told. Is it over? Okay, so the mystery of that. Oh, never mind.
Woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
Hooray! Susato success. Alright, let's save. Now stop at 7. Oh, I was gonna say 7 on the dot, but nah. I'm gonna wrap up right here. That was a good episode for the second game. The Memoirs of the Clouded Concoro. I will continue that tomorrow. So yeah, that was a good first episode. That was pretty good. I like that one. Episode 2, The Memoirs of Clouded Kokoro. So Clouded Heart, basically. How many episodes are there? 5 episodes. Okay. But yeah, I'm gonna go stop right here. This was fun. This was definitely fun. What I do like about this game that the other Ace Attorney games don't have is extra features. The fact that you could change their costumes is pretty cool. I like that. I'm gonna put Ryunosuke back to his default thing. I noticed they have like opposite cultural outfits. For example, what I mean is like Ryunosuke has like he's from Japan, but he has like a English attire as well. You could do the same thing with Susato as well. But with Shomes, you could change it into some Japanese outfits. That's pretty cool. Yeah, this game has a lot of contents. Like aside from like unlocking the episodes, this has like a lot of extra features. I like this. I had a little art galleries. Oh, sorry. I don't know why it's called moving pictures. It's just yeah, this game has a whole lot of features right here. Music and stuff like that.
Objection! Hold it! I'm sure every... Objection!
Objection!
Objection! Hold it!
Wait, she doesn't have an objection? Are you serious? No, anyways.
Objection!
I will stop right here. Let me see who is streaming. I'm gonna type in objection. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Who is streaming? Who is streaming? Man, my neighbors are loud. I could hear them from outside. Anyways, let me see who's streaming. I really don't see many people streaming, so I'll probably wrap up right here. But yeah, I'll most likely use. Well, let me see. I get off for work after 4. I'm debating if I should stream tomorrow, but I won't have enough time. So maybe no. I'll take a day off tomorrow. As much as I want to stream tomorrow, I won't have enough time. Especially if we're doing like a watch party tonight. I don't think 2 hours would do justice for a stream tomorrow. So I'm gonna take a day off tomorrow. I will come back Monday. Monday will be a good time to stream. So yeah, we'll continue some more Grace Attorney Chronicles tomorrow. I mean, sorry, not tomorrow. Sunday is tomorrow. Monday. I will continue Monday. But yeah, I will stop right here, and I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. Peace.